In a city that never slows down, where everyone rushes to chase their dreams, there lived a young woman who never stopped believing, even when the world laughed at her. Her name was Lina Carter, 24 years old, a janitor at a sleek glass building that touched the clouds. Every morning, she walked through the same revolving doors where executives carried lattes worth more than her entire lunch for the week. But Lina smiled anyway. Inside the building, the smell of coffee mixed with the faint scent of cleaning spray. Her world of mops, buckets, and silent corners. Most people passed by her without even seeing her. Some nodded politely, others looked away, as if her blue uniform made her invisible. "Hey, Lina. Same lunch again. What is it this time?" "Rice and mystery sauce." Lina just chuckled softly. She didn't mind. Inside her small, dented lunchbox was a piece of her heart. Her grandmother's homemade recipe. A simple meal of rice, spicy chicken, and vegetables cooked with care in her tiny apartment kitchen before sunrise. One day, maybe they'll see me differently. Her life was simple. Predictable. Some might even say dull. But destiny often hides behind the quietest doors, waiting for the right moment to knock. One Friday afternoon, as Lina carefully unwrapped her lunch, a faint aroma filled the entire break room, rich, comforting, impossible to ignore. Heads turned, eyes widened. "What's that smell?" "That actually smells good." Lina looked up, half embarrassed, half proud. She didn't know it yet, but that single moment, that small whiff of her homemade food, would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. For Lina, lunchtime had always been a quiet ritual, a small pause between endless hours of scrubbing floors and wiping away other people's footprints. But this time, things were different. The aroma from her homemade meal had drifted across the room, stronger than usual, stirring something unexpected. "Oh, look! It's the janitor again!" "What's on the menu today, Chef Lina?" "Fancy cafeteria is not good enough for you." Maybe she's practicing for a cooking show. Broke girl's kitchen. Laughter rippled through the tables. Lina froze mid-bite, her cheeks flushing crimson. She forced a smile, trying to laugh along, but her throat tightened. "It's just something my grandma taught me to make." "Well, tell your grandma thanks for stinking up the place." The laughter grew louder. Someone even held up their phone, pretending to film her. It wasn't the first time they'd mocked her, but this time it hurt deeper, not because of the words, but because they mocked something sacred. Her grandmother's memory. Her only connection to the woman who'd raised her when no one else cared. She sat on a small stool, holding her lunchbox in trembling hands. The laughter still echoed in her head. "Why do they hate me so much? I'm just trying to live." A tear fell, splashing onto the metal lid. Tin Kamiyama, the only person in the office who sometimes spoke to her. A young receptionist, kind-hearted but timid. "Lina, I'm so sorry about what happened. They shouldn't have said those things." "It's okay. I'm used to it." "No, it's not okay. You shouldn't be." Lina looked away, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, not just from cleaning floors, but from cleaning away her own dignity day after day. She'd spent her whole life being invisible. The girl who smiled when insulted. The worker who never complained. The janitor who hid her dreams behind polite silence. But something inside her was shifting, a quiet anger, mixed with longing. Lina entered the cafeteria again. The same eyes watched her. The same whispers floated through the air. But this time she heard something new. "Did you see the video? Someone posted it online." Janitor girl's lunchbox, surprise. Lina froze. Her heart stopped. "What? Video? They?" He grinned. "Oh, don't worry. You're trending in the office chat. Everyone's talking about your fancy homemade food." They laughed again. Lina grabbed her mop and left the room, her eyes burning. She didn't stop until she reached the building's rooftop. The cold wind hit her face as she stared at the skyline, the city glowing below like a world she didn't belong to. Sometimes humiliation doesn't break you, it awakens you. Lina took a deep breath. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. What you cook, Lina, is more than food. It's love. Never let them shame you for love. Her hands clenched. If they want to laugh, let them. Let them. But one day, I'll make them taste it, and they won't be laughing then. She woke before dawn. The city was still asleep, but her kitchen came alive, sizzling pans, steam rising from fragrant spices. This time, she wasn't just cooking for herself. She packed 2 extra lunchboxes. Lina didn't know exactly what she was planning, only that she refused to be ashamed anymore. As she walked into work, lunchboxes in hand, whispers followed her again, but her steps were steadier now, because, deep down, something had begun to burn. Not anger, not revenge, but purpose. What Lina didn't know was that the same meal they mocked yesterday was about to open doors she never even dared to dream of. For the first time in weeks, Lina didn't walk with her head down. The laughter still echoed in her mind, but now it no longer burned, it fueled her. That morning, she arrived before everyone else. The floors gleamed under the soft office lights, her reflection clear in the polished marble. She set 2 lunchboxes on the counter in the break room, each labeled free to try. If they won't listen to me, maybe they'll listen to the food. The room buzzed with conversation. A few coworkers noticed the lunchboxes sitting alone by the coffee machine. What's this? Lina's trying to feed us now. Maybe it's payback. Poison in a box? They laughed, but curiosity got the better of them. One of them opened a box and took a cautious bite. Silence. Then another bite. Wait, this is actually good. Soon, others gathered around, tasting from the second box. Within minutes, both were empty. Lina watched quietly from a distance, hidden behind the vending machine. Her heart raced, a mix of hope and fear. For a brief, shining moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Valise. But peace, like everything in Lina's life, didn't last long. Lina was summoned to the manager's office. The walls were glass, cold and sterile. Behind the desk sat Mr. Hensley, the building supervisor, stern, expressionless. Miss Carter, I've received complaints about you distributing food in the employee area. Complaints. Hi, I just wanted to share. It's against company policy. Sanitation rules. You're here to clean, not to cook. I didn't mean any harm. I only one more incident like this, and we'll have to reconsider your position here. The words hit harder than she expected. Lina nodded, blinking back tears, and quietly left the office. She stood again in her favorite spot, where the city lights began to glow, and her doubts grew darker. Every time she tried to rise, the world seemed eager to push her back down. Lina clenched her fists. She wasn't angry at Mr. Hensley. She was angry at herself for caring so much. Maybe I'm just meant to stay small. Invisible. Then her phone buzzed. It was Emma. Lina, you need to see this. That video, the one they made fun of, it's going viral again. But people love it this time. They're asking for your recipe. What? That can't be right. I swear. Look, someone reposted it with the caption, "This janitor cooks better than 5-star chefs." It's got thousands of views. Lina's heart pounded. She opened her phone and saw her face, shyly opening her lunchbox. The comments flooding in. She deserves better. I'd buy her food any day. Real talent never hides forever. Her eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but disbelief. The same laughter that once humiliated her had unknowingly opened a door she'd never imagined. Emma approached Lina with a grin and a small flyer in hand. There's a weekend food fair downtown. I know it's crazy, but what if you tried selling your food there? Just. Me? No one would buy from a janitor. Not a janitor from Lina Carter, the girl who makes magic in a lunchbox. Lina stared at the flyer. Her hands trembled, part fear, part hope. For the first time, her dream didn't seem like a distant fantasy, but standing between her and that dream was a lifetime of doubt. and the fear of failing again. She looked toward the horizon, where the city lights shimmered like promises waiting to be claimed. Oh. All right. One last try. She didn't know it yet, but this one decision would change everything. It was the biggest step Lina had ever taken. She had spent all her savings renting a tiny booth, just a folding table, 2 burners, and her grandmother's old recipes. Her hands trembled as she placed a small cardboard sign. Homemade meals by Lina. You've got this, Dot. Just cook from your heart, like you always do. Lina nodded, forcing a smile. But inside, her chest was a storm. Doubt clawed at her. What if no one comes? What if they laugh again? Hours dragged by. The neighboring stalls were crowded. The laughter and chatter of success surrounded her. Meanwhile, Lina stood alone, the scent of her food floating in vain. She lowered her head, whispering, maybe they were right. Maybe I don't belong here. Then a shadow fell across her table. A man in a dark suit, sunglasses, and a calm, confident posture stopped in front of her booth. He looked out of place among the crowd, too polished, too composed. Is this the food that's been all over the internet lately? I guess so. It's just something I cook at home. He smiled faintly. Give me 1 plate. She served him nervously. He took a bite. Then another. He didn't speak for a moment, his eyes closed as if reliving a memory. This tastes like my childhood. Really? Really? A nodded. You have something rare, Miss Cartes. Lina Cartes. I'm David Moore, CEO of Moore Foods Group. We sponsored this fair. Her eyes widened. A CEO? I didn't. You said you made this yourself. Yes, every recipe's my grandmother's. He paused, then turned to his assistant. Get her card? I want her in our next product test line. We've been looking for authentic homemade flavors like this. You want me to work with your company? He nodded. If you're interested, we could make something special. Lina's kitchen. What do you say? For a moment, Lina couldn't speak. Her throat locked with disbelief. The same hands that once scrubbed floors now trembled not from exhaustion, but from possibility. Yes. Yes. I'd love to. The crowd began to gather, drawn by the CEO's presence and the aroma of her food. Reporters clicked photos. Curious onlookers asked for samples. Within minutes, her table was swarmed. Laughter replaced by applause. He told you they'd see you differently someday. Lina smiled through her tears, the weight of humiliation finally melting away. But just as everything seemed perfect, a voice from behind cut through the air. Well, I didn't expect to see my janitor pretending to be a chef. The crowd fell silent. That Lina turned, meeting his cold, mocking eyes. Don't get carried away, Miss Carter. You still clean toilets for a living. For a second, fear flashed in her eyes, but then something stronger rose behind it. Not anymore. She took off her blue janitor's badge and placed it on the table. I clean kitchens now. My own. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cameras flashed. Mr. Hensley's smirk faded as David Moore turned toward him, eyes narrowing. You should treat your employees better. You never know who you're talking down to. The manager's face went pale. In that single moment, the girl they laughed at became the woman everyone admired. Lina stood taller than ever before, tears glistening under the warm glow of the afternoon sun. Thank you, Grandma. We did Italiano. It had been 6 months since that unforgettable day at the food fair, the day the world finally saw Lina for who she truly was. What once began as a simple lunchbox in a janitor's closet had now become a story whispered across the city. The story of a woman who turned ridicule into recognition. Inside the café, Lina moved gracefully between tables, her apron embroidered with her name. The walls were decorated with handwritten notes from customers. Tastes like home. Reminds me of my mom's cooking. Thank you for making food that feels like love. You realize you're famous now, right? There's even a waiting list for your recipes. Famous. No. 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 And still learning. But the truth was, she had changed, not just her life, but the way people around her saw others like her. Even her former coworkers sometimes stopped by the café, shyly ordering the food they once mocked. One afternoon, Mr. Hensley himself walked in. He looked smaller somehow. Humbled, I came to apologize. I didn't see your worth. Before I was wrong. Lina smiled gently, her voice calm. It's okay, Mr. Hensley. We all start somewhere. I'm just glad you're here. She handed him a meal. No charge, just kindness. Lina had every reason to hate, every reason to prove others wrong with pride. But she chose something greater. Forgiveness, because sometimes the truest victory isn't found in success, but in grace. She looked up at the stars and whispered softly, Grandma, your recipes found their way home. A tear slipped down her cheek. Not of sadness, but of peace. Lina's story reminds us that greatness doesn't always wear a suit, and dreams don't always begin in shining offices. Sometimes they start in quiet kitchens, in humble hearts, and in the courage to keep believing when no one else does. Never underestimate the one you overlook, because tomorrow, their story might be the one that changes yours.